Okay. We go to our next issue, and that is unaccounted revenue
Yeah.
and missing assets. So Isiolo has been underreporting part of their revenue, and also the assets that they acquired from the previous government can't be traced in the asset register. So I
Right.
will start with the underreported revenue.
Right.
They underreported 17 million in on-source revenue. That
Right.
means they earned some monies from either ticketing or licensing, but
Yeah.
then they proceeded to underreport it by 17 million. Can you imagine? Meaning someone pocketed the 17 million. In addition to that, there's an health facility that is owned by the county government.
Mm-hmm.
They had 13.9 million net income.
Yeah.
That net income was omitted from the financial statements.
Right.
And finally, they had an asset of about 14 billion, which was transferred from the former county council.
Right.
That asset cannot be traced.
Yeah.
No asset register, no title, and no documentation. The possibility of that, and I'm looking at the worst case scenario, is that
Yeah.
someone might have taken that asset and we will never know who that is and what asset that was taken. And that is very worrying.
Yeah.
Understanding the kind of government that we have right now that wants to put their hands on all public resources.
Right.
As you talk through it, do
Yeah.
you think one of the solutions is that we are supposed to have a digital asset register
Yeah.
where every person can be able to see what is actually owned by the national government and
Yeah.
also the county government, so that
Yeah.
in case there is any foul play,
Mm-hmm.
then it's easy for the public to play its oversight authority now that that is our function.
Yeah, so to be clear, so the 14 billion we talked, it wasn't one asset, it was several assets. So
Mm,
when we got devolution, if you think about the old system that we had where we had municipalities, right? So there was a local government at the time that was running a CLO and it had certain assets, equipment, it
mm,
had land, equipment that was owned by that government. So with devolution, these assets were supposed to be transferred to the new government that's taking over,
yes.
right? And so
Mm,
14.1 billion worth of assets that existed at the time and were transferred to the county of Isiolo. Nobody knows where they are. Nobody can show you a piece of land and say this is it. Nobody can show you a tractor. Nobody can show you a vehicle. 14.1 billion of money of actual assets that were transferred into Isiolo County's government for possession. Nobody knows where they are.
mm,
This is so when I hear this, and again, because I've spent a lot of time looking at how the counter government is conducting itself, um,
mm,
this is not different than, if you ever go to, um, the way they conduct themselves is not different from a Makanga who's collecting. Maybe even Makangas are more sophisticated, right? Because, they're gonna be held accountable. The way that the county is conducting itself here is almost like someone running a kiosk. They don't believe in being held
yeah,
accountable. Again, for 8 years, they have not reported to anybody who they give contracts to, how much it costs, what process was used. They just don't give a damn, right? So, um, then when you hear that and you look at 14 billion worth of assets missing, it's a continuation of the same. Basically, we don't have people that care about being held accountable. It is difficult to even imagine that people are leading a country where they're spending for 5.2 billion and they don't care about even keeping receipts. The government tell you that we spent 26 million buying laptops. When you say to them, "Can you show me an invoice? An invoice? Can you give me a purchase order? Can you show me a laptop? Show me a laptop, and so I can match the serial number." There's nothing that they have, and so when you
yeah,
go
sure.
through year after year, it's the same thing. Again, so we talked about the 17 million worth of income that's not reported, and that can't do anything about it. There's 43 million worth of cash advances that they can't tell you, it has not been brought back, right? You have 45 million that was supposed to be transferred from a collection account, and nobody knows where it is. You have let's see what else we have here. Cash advances is very common here. So where, people get cash advance. If I'm sending you out, let's say on county business and say there is a sudden, you need to go meet with,
Mm.
people locally. Let's say it's a hospital, and I give you
Yes.
10,000 to be able to go there. You're supposed to come back and show me the expenses and then give me the balance, right? So if you
The
spend
receipts.
6,000,
Yeah.
yeah, so I need to
Yeah.
be able to get that 4,000. So the 42 million worth of expense of such advances in 1 year cannot be accounted for. They
Mm.
go out and they issue a contract for 26 million for legal services. Remember, they have their own county attorney.
Mm.
They issue a contract for
Actually,
20, yeah, for 20, I think it's 24 million, and they have no contract. They cannot tell you what the case related to. There's just nothing. I've
that's
never
it.
seen anything like
Mm.
it. 54 million worth of temporary workers had no approval or documentation, no names, no IDs. Nobody can tell you that from this date
Wow.
to this date we had 50 people at this cost, and these are their names. It just doesn't exist. They just tell
Yes.
you we spent 53 million worth of money on temporary workers,
Mm.
and that's all they have to show for it.
Mm.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, um,
Really, it's quite unfortunate.
yeah,
So we go to the next area. I think this exciting many people in the previous county.
right,
Travel extravaganza.
right.
And in the year 2023 to 2024, Isiolo spent about 206 million on
Hmm.
domestic travel. There is no
Yeah,
data on what they did in terms
right.
of their foreign travel. So we do not know whether the Marrakesh test is exclusive to Nairobi County only or it cuts across all the counties. And but this 200 million was on domestic travel. So
Yeah,
I understand maybe walienda Mombasa wakaamua wacha tuchape huku wiki mbili and
yeah.
stuffs like that.
Hmm.
And basically this is a county where their total budget is 5.2 billion.
Yeah,
And what they're able to generate in terms of million, like in
yeah,
terms of revenue,
right.
is only 190, but they take 206 million to
Hmm.
go on domestic travels.
I
It's
mean,
just annoying.
I spoke to you about the lack of common sense in business. So I want you to imagine that you've hired me as your manager to run your business. The revenue is 5.2 billion.
Mm.
And let's say it's a subsidiary. Think of me as, this is a global company where they have a parent company somewhere. We have a subsidiary in Kenya, right? The subsidiary is only able to generate 3% of its revenue within Kenya, but
Yes.
for a certain amount of time is requiring the support of the parent company to be able to pursue this
Yes.
market entry. So when you're able to do that by only raising 3% of your revenue, how long can you sustain that? Um, this is the question that every Kenyan has to answer for, which is
Mm.
devolution was supposed to allow development, service, and accountability. But at the same time, our system of government requires that there is discipline in terms of, fiscal discipline, right? So when Isiolo can only raise 190 million locally, and by the way,
Yes.
when you look at the makeup of this 190 million, much of the revenue is actually charges to, for example, government facilities. There is let's say a game reserve or something.
Mm.
That's where the money is coming from. This is important for me because, when I think about the fact that we've spent 41 billion in Isiolo, I'm looking
Mm.
for some indication that this money is actually doing something that puts Isiolo in a better position to allow it to at some point to be able to fund its own cost of being open, right? Because at the end of the day, if we have 47 counties, but none of the counties are able to sustain themselves, if they are not able to generate their own revenue to support what they want to do for their citizens,
Mm.
then this system is gonna crumble at some point. You can't have 47 counties where every one of them is a beggar, because at
Yeah.
some point we have to ask, where is the money coming from, right? So when you hear 41 billion has been sent
True.
for 10 years, and you find out that the county can only raise in 10 years of devolution can only raise 3%. And then you look at that 3%, you find out that the vast majority of it is fees to enter government facilities and charges when you go to a county hospital that they charge you. Then what? So the question I want Kenyans to ask themselves is, what is it that the governor and the deputy
Yeah.
governor and these 18 MCAs, what are they? What is their value that they're giving you? I say that out of the budget of
Yes.
Isiolo, the 5.2 billion, the 18 MCAs in Isiolo consumed 12% of the budget. Okay, 18 men and women consume 12% of the budget by themselves. It is equivalent to one MCA consuming about 1,500 times what the average citizen can expect to benefit in terms of government. I don't want to confuse anybody, but think of the 5.2 billion and you look at the population of the country. You can divide those to the 5.2 billion by that population to get an idea of how much the average citizen can expect to benefit in terms of services and development from the county government, right? The average MCA
Yeah.
is
Mm.
consuming about 1,500 of what the average citizen can expect to consume. And that's how you
Yes.
end up with 18
Mm.
MCAs consuming 12% of the budget. This cannot be
Yes.
what we thought about when we conceived devolution.
No.
Uh, this doesn't make any
No.
sense. It does not make any sense.
No.
Yeah.
No, it does not. It does not. And just to put it in simpler terms,
Hmm.
I am earning a salary of 50,000.
Right.
I have seen Bonnie did a trip to Marrakech.
Yes.
I decide, what is the cost? I go online, I search, I say, oh, it's 70,000. Remember, I earned
Yeah.
50,000 only. And I
Yeah.
decide kaende. So naenda nakopa deni, and
Yeah.
then I pay 70,000 to go to Marrakech. I have
Yeah.
not paid my rent.
Yeah.
I have not considered my medical cover. I have
Right.
not considered what I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
But whomst am I? Nataka
Yeah.
raha nijipe. I decide
Yeah.
to go there. That is we are living as a country, and it's just
Exactly. I-
we cannot continue living like this.
If
It
you
can't
want to
it can't
be,
continue.
yeah, if you want to be even more depressed, I want you to think about the relationship between the amount that we're spending on travel and other things. So, for example, so we say that
Mhm.
the county of Isiolo spent 206 million on domestic travel in 2023, 2024. They spent 70 million on bursaries. Okay. Remember, we say that this county has a population of 270,000 people, I believe it was, right? So
Wow.
this entire this 70 million is supposed to take care of all the kids in the county. We're not talking about, like how many kids do you think they have with the population of 270? It's gonna be, it's gonna be a significant amount. So take that 70 million and divide it across that population of kids, and you can kind of see how little the amount that we're spending on bursaries is. So they spend 70 million on bursaries, but they spend 206 million on travel, which is more than they raised in the entire year in terms of own service revenue. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah,
no sense.
sorry.
Yeah. So I spoke about common sense and businesses. You're not going to last in the private sector if you behave like this. When you show this type of inability to be able to connect costs and constraints, right? Yeah. So unfortunately, it's not unique to Isiolo. It's happening everywhere.
So the next area is bursary. The county allocated 70 million
Hmm.
for bursaries, and Boyne was just pointing it out in the last segment. The amount of money being spent on domestic travel is 206 million.
Right.
The amount of money being spent per one MP, per one MCA
Hmm.
in a financial year is 28.6 million.
Right.
So 3 MCAs already an amount that they are allocating for a bursary of 270 million people, because that's the total number of people in that region, assuming even students, because now the current generation, the percentage of the youth is higher than the older people. I'm assuming
Yeah.
even if we're not being like generous,
Yeah.
at most, I think we will have about 170,000 youth. So the
Yeah.
amount of money being allocated to these people is only but 70 million, while
Right.
206,000 is allocated to travels.
Yeah.
That said, we'll think all of that million will be spent
Right.
on bursary, but that was not the case.
Right.
35 million was not spent on bursary. There
Yeah.
is no evidence to show who are the beneficiaries of the 35 million. No receipts to show for that
Mm-hmm.
from the schools. Like no record to show
Yeah.
that there is any person who received this amount.
Right.
And on this area, Bonnie, as you speak on it, I
Right.
want to ask, like, as we speak on the problem, because this is a recurrent problem, and this is
Right.
last time you spoke about Owen. This is something
Right.
that actually impacts the future of like the future generation. I
Right.
personally, I can
Mm-hmm.
attribute where I am in life from
Yeah.
education.
Right.
If there was no financial capability to
Yeah.
pay my school fees, which is
Yeah.
what many people are going through right now,
Right.
then I will definitely not be where I am right now. And
Yeah.
it is the only get pass for many, many people who did come from affluent backgrounds. So
Right.
and even those who came from affluent backgrounds, still education
Mm-hmm.
is the key. I know it sounds cliche, but still education is the key.
Yeah.
So if these people are being selfish by allocating such small amount to
Mm-hmm.
the people who are going to school, and in
Yeah.
addition to that, still taking a portion of it,
Right.
is there a way legally that we
Uh-huh.
can restructure bursary distribution so
Right.
that the county government, the MPs, because it's
Yeah.
not a county government issue only, the
Right.
county government, the MPs, the national government, because even capitation money was being lost, so that
Yeah.
there is minimal contact
Mm-hmm.
between the source of the funds
Mm-hmm.
and the receiver of the funds to ensure that the
Yeah.
rightful people who are meant to receive these funds receive that amount.
Yeah. So, I'll be honest with you. Okay. This is one of the most devastating things that I've seen when it comes to um, the failure of government in our country. Um, you know,
Yeah.
you are talking about Owen, and for people that are not aware of who we are talking about, Owen is a young kid from my home county of Kiambu who's 20 years old, who was raised by his grandfather, who's 90 years old today, and his grandmother, who's 80, right? So he was abandoned by his mother when he was a little boy, grew up under very
Mhm.
difficult circumstances, and everybody told him that the way out of this situation is for you to get an education. He is every parent's
Mm.
dream child. He goes to school, pays attention, and gets some good grades. He's admitted to Egerton University to study economics. He's excited because people have told him, pay attention, do what you need to do in school, and you're gonna be able to overcome the situation. So he gets an admission to go to Egerton, but
Yes.
he spends a month and a half running from one county government to the next, begging politicians to intervene to make sure that his dream materializes. He's admitted to Egerton.
Yes.
Even with a little bit of help from the government, he is not able to raise 100,000 that he needed to be able to attend college. So from mid-August of this year to the end of September, he is going from
Mm.
one office to the next at politicians' offices applying for scholarships and CDFs, and he's told we don't have anything to give you. So he sits at home
Mm.
and decides to call me. He had gotten my information from a trip that I made last year, and he found out that I started supporting some kids back home to try and provide them with an education because I know what the promise of education can do for me, you know. So he got my number that way and ended up, changing his number. So he started calling me, and he had called me about 50 times. By the time I realized it was him, because I get a lot of spam calls from Kenya. And so when I see a number that I don't recognize, I just ignore it. I decided to answer his call one time and find out
Mm.
that it was Owen. And he's telling me he's sitting at home because he has not been able to get any help. He just needs 100,000, and he's gone from one office to the next, begging politicians to intervene and allow for this dream that he
Mm.
has to come to be true. And he does not succeed.
Mm.
And so I'm giving you this example to tell you our country is spending 4.3 trillion shillings this year. That's our budget. We are spending 1.9 trillion of that money. to continue paying debt
Mm.
service. Debt service is us
Mm.
paying for our desires to pay governor 100 times what the average citizen is making. All these trips that you and I were talking about, where people are going to have meetings in Galilee. I mean, you're talking about Isiolo. Isiolo last year had a trip where the governor went to Galilee for training. You know, we are seeing
Yes.
people go to Dubai to learn about poverty alleviation. We are seeing people go to
Yes.
Marrakesh, Morocco to learn about proactive management. People are going to Vancouver, BC to learn about conflict resolution. Absolutely wasteful trips. And
Yes.
so you think of a trip like you know you and I in the last session we talked about Governor Sakaja spending 37 million to send 19 people to Marrakesh, Morocco to study proactive management. I want you to think about that trip. One trip that cost 37 million. And if you just imagine if we had people that make better decisions. So someone says, you know what, I'm not going to spend that
Yes.
37 million. There in Nairobi, there is, if you take that 37 million, right, and you decided to, because again, Owen needed about 100,000 to be able to go to school. If we take 37 million and you divide it
That's good. Yeah.
by that 100,000, you see the number of kids that we are going to
Mm.
be able to help, right? But the people that are
Right.
given these responsibilities to be stewards of the people's resources are conducting themselves
Mm.
in a manner so reckless that we ends up with people like
Mm.
that. So you're thinking of Owen. Owen has done what we asked him to do. He's paid attention to school. He's gotten good grades, and when he gets to a point where he can now, the dream of overcoming this very terrible upbringing that he had, all of a sudden he's not able to do it because of the greed of politicians, because of corruption. So
Mm.
we are talking about the Isiolo.
Mm.
Isiolo spent 70 million on bursaries in the year that we're talking about,
Mm.
2023, 2024. But they spent 206 million on travel.
Yes.
Okay. So for every 1 shilling that they spend on bursary, they spend three on travel. Isiolo spent 46% of revenue on salaries when the law says the maximum is 35, right? So I'm giving this example to tell you
Mm.
that when you decide to violate the law and spend 46% of the money on salaries, you are denying someone else an opportunity, right? So, it's devastating because, it's almost like, and we've gotten accustomed to hearing big numbers. Kenyans hear about 5 billion missing here, a couple 100 million missing here.
Yes.
What people often miss is that people that are, there's a human cost to this. There's a human cost to this. We spoke about a 56% poverty rate in Isiolo. There are, you know, potentially thousands of kids that can benefit from when if the government decides they're not going to spend 46% of revenue, they're going to do what the law requires and spend 35%. Uh, hundreds of millions now become available to be able to be used to serve citizens. So, it's devastating what's happening. But again, it speaks to entitlement. It speaks to what I like to call, it's lack of common sense in businesses. If you're a business leader, right, you know why you get up in the morning every day. You're there to serve citizens and to create value for your shareholders. If you're the governor of a county, it's the same thing. You're supposed to be there to serve people.
Ladies and gents, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you for sitting with us through from the start up to the end of the show. We appreciate your audience, but more importantly, we appreciate your participation, your willingness to get this information, and also your willingness to act on it. In summary, I would like to just point out that a significant portion of money has been lost in Isiolo County, that is in billions, and it has gone to ghost payrolls. It has equally gone to illegal advisors. Illegal because under the law, there is a limit as to how many can be hired as advisors, but the county government of Isiolo has exceeded that number. Similar to the limitation on the amount of people who can be hired in the county as a whole. I mean, the amount of money that can be spent on wage, which is 35%, they have exceeded it to 46%. There are illegal tenders. There is fake procurement. There is expenditure that cannot be accounted for. cash advances that have been given and never returned, bursaries that have been disbursed, but then there is no track record as to who it was disbursed to or not to which school it was sent to. So much money has been lost. And you would look at Isiolo and say, no, that is not my county. As I indicated before, it does not matter which county it is, because ultimately that amount comes from our taxes, your taxes and my tax. Isiolo County by itself is able to generate only 190 million, but their budget is 5.2 billion, meaning 5 billion comes from the national government, which is your tax and my tax. And as at this moment, we are running at a deficit, meaning that is loan. So we have to pay for the loan itself and we have to pay for the cost of the loan. So it is important for us to monitor each and every county, keep track on what they are doing, and try to put a stop to anything that is not okay. It can be as simple as us just speaking about it, you tweeting about it. I think if we add as many voices, then there is going to be a change. But if we keep quiet about it, then it means we are complacent, and that is not what we are. So going forward to action points, as of now, we're speaking about it. We are retweeting about it. We hope to grow systematically to so much more. But if you're able on your own to engage on things like litigation, help in filing petitions, then that is so much welcomed. Again, thank you so much for your support thus far. Before I close, I want to just highlight two areas. On the 19th of November, the public participation bill, that is the closing date for us submitting our memorandum as a public. This is important because for every action of Parliament, it is supposed to seek input from the public. For example, if they're passing the finance bill, if they're passing the cybercrime bill, any other law that they intend to pass, we as a public ought to be included. And what gives us the right is the Constitution. And the process that can be done is through the public participation bill. In addition, anytime the state resources like Kenya Pipeline is being sold, any other public resources are being sold, public consent ought to be sought. And our voice is what is going to say, yes, we are agreeing to this. Yes, we are not agreeing to this. Yes, we are agreeing, but you need to change this part and this part. So this public participation bill is a very important bill. Take time and review it and comment on it. Even when the county development plan is being passed, there ought to be public participation. And for you to be able to be part of that meaningfully, it has to be in accordance with the provision of the public participation bill. So read it, review it, and then send your comment. If you're not able to send your comment, reach out to me in X. I go by Nasambu, reach out to me in X. I will provide the draft that I have worked on, and then you can modify it as suitable, and then you send your comment. If you have trouble reaching out to me, reach out to me through Bonnie, and then you will reach out to me. I will share with you the draft comments. Please make sure you participate. You cannot fail to participate, because through this process, it is going to ensure every part of our participation is meaningful. And then again, in the upcoming week, there is Zalendo called I Am Shege. Shege is doing something good for the country. He is following up on all court processes that are instituted either as a result of people who were harmed during Mandamano or any petition on any bill or any process that is not good for the public. So every week he updates any upcoming cases. So I am requesting for you to, if you have time, there are a couple of cases that are coming up this week. There is a case for Alberto Juang, and then there is a case, give me a moment, let me find it. And then there is a case for David Mokaya. Please make time. If you're able to, and you're around the courts, please go and attend the hearing. If we come together and combine our efforts, then it becomes more fruitful. But if one person does it without support from the rest of us, then it is not as impactful. So if you're around Milimani, please make time to attend the session. Check his page, confirm where the court is, and then please join the session. If you're not able to join, please, and you're a lawyer or any other form of support that you can offer that is needed, that will be much appreciated as well. Again, thank you for sitting with us. Thank you for sitting through. Bonnie had to step out because he had an engagement, but he will be with us next time. Any comments or any suggestions you have to make the whole episode better and future episodes better, please reach out. We are open to comments. We are open to constructive criticisms. Thank you so much and have a good evening, good day, good morning. Bye.